Hello, manifestors. So, I'm back from my week away, but I'm going out again for a long weekend. But before I do, I wanted to use my podcast in this video because I know that sometimes people know my YouTube channel, they may not know my podcast, and vice versa. And what I said in this podcast, in my last podcast, is very important. And if you get this, you get everything. And I've got quite some positive feedback on the podcast to motivate me to put it here on YouTube. So, as an introduction of the podcast that you are going to listen to in a few seconds, I want to remind you that what manifests your life right now as you go, it's your mind. Imagination is God. Your imagination is your divine tool that manifests on autopilot your life, what we call life, which is really a 3D reflection of your mind. And imagination is everything that goes through your mind. It's your thoughts, your inner conversations, your feeling, the images that go through your mind, your beliefs, your assumptions, all of it. As I said several times, especially recently, all of this is imagination. So, for example, when you're saying what I hear sometimes, right now, I'm not ready to go to the end, meaning I'm not ready to go to the end of my wish fulfilled. This is your imagination talking, right? You are imagining that you need to be ready to imagine that you already are the person you want to be. But you are the only person that prevents yourself from imagining who you want to be. And there is no such thing as being ready to imagine. You are ready now. You are always ready to imagine whatever you want. You are the only one with your own mind, with your own imagination, that creates the belief that in order to go to the end, in order to imagine that you are the person you want to be, who has whatever you want to have, you need to be ready. There's no such thing. There's no such thing. You are ready now. Your mind is functioning perfectly, and you are ready now to imagine what you want to be now. Everything else are conditions that you are creating for yourself in your own mind. So keep this in mind and give a listen to my last podcast that I am posting on here because many of you need to hear this. Imagination is the beginning of creation. You imagine what you desire, and then you believe it to be true. Every dream could be realized by those self-disciplined enough to believe it. People are what you choose to make them. A man is according to the manner in which you look at him. The perfect man judges not after appearances, but judges righteously. He sees others as he desires them to be. He hears only what he wants to hear. He sees only good in others. In him there is no condemnation, for he transforms the world with his seeing and hearing. Neville Goddard, Chapter 7, The Greatest Prayer, in his book, Prayer, The Art of Believing. So, when we talk about prayer, knowing this law, knowing the teachings of Neville, we know that we are not begging an external being, right? We are actually imagining that we already are the person we want to be, and we already have what we want to have. And by the way, glad to have you back. I'm glad to be back. I know it's been a little while since I have made a podcast, but here I am again. What I wanted to emphasize here is something that if you really get it once and for all, you'll stop being a victim. You'll stop thinking, believing that life happens to you, that what people do to you is coming out of nowhere. You have no power over this and all that stuff. Your imagination, whether you are conscious of it or not, whether you know this law for a while or not, your imagination, since you were born basically, since you were aware of being the person that you are, your imagination has always been creating your life. Whatever you've been imagining has been creating your reality. And I always encourage you guys to really go back into your life and put the dots together. In other words, what I call reverse engineering, which is you remember some specific events in your life. They could be big or small, whatever, significant or not so significant. And go back in your thoughts before that. You manifested whatever, X, Y, and Z. And you go back in your memory, remembering what you were thinking, what you were telling to yourself constantly before you manifested that. And you will always find out that your thoughts, your beliefs, your imaginal acts, right? Everything that implies imagination, everything that is imagination, which is everything that goes through your mind, basically, whether it's in the form of images, sound, words, anything like that, anything that's going through your mind is your imagination. So when you link what you manifested to your imagination, you will see that nothing manifests out of nowhere. It always manifests from your imagination. So let me give you an example. Let's say you manifested a relationship recently, and you kept telling me, I don't think that this person has someone else. I don't think that he has someone else. I don't think that he has someone else. What are you saying here? What are you really saying? What is it in your imagination that makes you say that? That makes you say, well, I met that guy and he seems to be into me at least a little, right? He's interested, he's going out with me, basically, not to say more. And I don't think he has someone else. Really? Are you sure you don't think that? Because to me, if you're saying, I don't think he has someone else, and you keep on saying it, you don't think so, you sure you don't, it means that you do. It means that you do. Now, when I say it means that you do, you may not think that he does really in this instant, right? But you think that he could. You think that this possibility exists. Otherwise, guess what? You would not say it at all. I mean, since when I'm going to start dating someone and keep saying, I don't think he has someone else, unless I know that he has someone else, right? I don't think he has someone else. Of course he doesn't. Most likely he doesn't. If he's going out with you and everything seems okay, he doesn't seem to be like a weirdo, he doesn't have someone else. But if you keep reminding yourself and looking for confirmation on my side that this guy is free, it's because you have the belief. You are imagining all the time, not just this time, but on a regular basis, like kind of on a background noise. You are always imagining that when you meet a guy, and I say guy because I'm talking about a woman, okay? It doesn't matter. You could reverse things if you're a man and talking about women. It's the same thing. Or whatever else. It's all the same. But if you keep on saying that that person doesn't have anyone else, it's because in your inner man, you keep on assuming that you are manifesting people that are not available. Then you can't be surprised if few weeks later that person has met someone else. He has met someone else, and now because he has someone else, he's telling you, hey, by the way, I met someone. Therefore, I'm no longer interested in our relationship. When that happens to you, you cannot come crying, saying that you are a victim to this world. You're not a victim to this world. You may feel like a victim. You may definitely feel bad, but you are only a victim to your own inner man. You are a victim to your own self, to your own inner man, which is your imagination. Because you kept on imagining and confirming within yourself that the possibility that this man was not available, that he may be lying to you, that he may be pretending that he was available but wasn't, that imaginal act, because it is an imaginal act, manifested. And then sure enough, because the law works perfectly, sure enough, a few weeks later, you're telling me that your person has met someone else. And the reason he did, it's because you have manifested that in your world. So that person of yours, your SP, has no choice but to conform to your imaginal act. This is why Neville says this here. People are what you choose to make them. A man is according to the manner in which you look at him. And when he says, the perfect man judges not after appearances, but judges righteously, which is a phrase that he took from scripture in the Bible, it means that whatever is, whatever appears to be in the 3D, good or bad, it's completely changeable. And it is changeable where? In your imagination. And if you imagine the opposite of what you are seeing right now in the 3D, whether it's opposite good or opposite bad, it's your imagination that will manifest in your physical world, what we call the 3D world. So, if you are in the habit of judging men, and in this case, let's say you are a woman, and we talk about men literally, men as males, and you are in the habit of creating the belief, the assumption that the men that you meet are never available because you are always second best, you are never first best, you are never first choice. You are never the woman. So that man will always have someone else, either before you meet them, or if they don't, when you meet them, they will later on. Because the law is completely impartial and doesn't care about anything. It doesn't care in the sense that it's like electricity. Electricity would make a toaster work, or a computer work, or an electric chair work, right? It works for everything. It doesn't care. You want a toaster, you want an electric chair, it's gonna work either way. It's gonna work the same way. It's gonna be electrifying that object to be working in accordance to what this thing is for, right? The law is the same thing. You can use the law to manifest the best life. You can use that same law to manifest the worst life. It's up to you. But nothing and no one is creating anything for you. You are the one. So if you feel like a victim, if you felt like a victim all these years, if you felt that a pattern has stuck to you this whole time, the worst pattern ever, it is your self-creation. It is your self-creation. And this is not a blaming game. It is just how it is. It's how the law works. But the beauty of it, it's when you realize how the law works, you can change that inner man. You can change overnight any belief that you had been carrying on for many years, for decades. You can change them. You can change them now. You can decide that you do no longer associate or identify with any belief, any crappy belief that you ever had. You can dump them right away. And this is what Neville called killing the old man. You can kill the old man now. This minute, this moment, you can decide, I do not want to be that old bitch anymore, like I did myself. Like I used to tell myself, I killed that old bitch. I killed her completely. Once you kill the old man completely, the old man is gone. Yesterday, I had a new client, a beautiful young man who changed his life dramatically, who had a very tough life that he created himself, by the way, back in the days, and he's still very young, but he changed, right? He completely changed. And as he said, because we were talking about how once we discover the law, we can never unlearn what we've learned. We can never go back. And he said, yes, I can never go back to that old man of mine because he's dead. And since he's dead, well, he's dead. I cannot go back. Right? So that's what you need to be doing. If you feel that the old man is trying to kick back a little bit, that means he's not completely dead. You knocked him out a little bit, but he's not completely dead. So that's why the old man is trying to kick back. And that is normal. That's something I hear almost on a daily basis. Some clients of mine were telling me, I'm able to kill the old man a little bit, but it's trying to come back. If you have had an old man that was very strong and you had those patterns for a very, very long time, it's only normal that at first that old man is going to try to kick back in. That's normal. But every time you see your old man head going up, you knock it out again. You knock it out, you knock it out, you knock it out until it's dead. And once it's dead, you should feel a shift. You feel different. You feel different because you've just stepped in a new state, in the state of being the person that you want to be. Therefore, the person that you do no longer want to be, that actually should be distasteful to you, so much so that you are sure that you don't want to go back there. That's going to help you to maintain that new state, to maintain that new man, and keeping the old dead for good. I hope this was helpful, guys. Thank you so much for being back, for listening to my podcast. I hear a lot of wonderful success stories, amazing feedback from you guys listening to this podcast and listening to my YouTube channel as well. And thank you so much for that. I truly appreciate you. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And thank you for being here.